You leave Kyan Evans any space on the perimeter, and you're done for. But don't let him get into the lane either, or you're in trouble. Good luck.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Friday, September 12th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks so much for making us your first listener watch to get your weekend going the right way. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Just like there's more to every player, more dedication, more attention to detail, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Stay tuned later in the episode for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Want to welcome in all everydayers, all the great members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. We'd love to see you in there. Links free, and it's in the show notes. And the Locked On Tar Heels Insiders. Great to see all of you with us here today. Here's where we're headed on this Friday. We had the first press availability for both Kyan Evans and Henri Veesaar this week, so want to just take some takeaways from that. Carolina football takes back to the field tomorrow, Saturday, against Richmond back at Kyan. They don't have to have everything figured out, but they got to take some more steps forward. I'll give you three. I also have three questions to look at for the game. We'll make predictions, and we'll have our weekend whip around, getting you ready for everything in Carolina athletics this weekend. Another undefeated weekend? I sure hope so. Also, Anthony Pagnotta was supposed to join us on the show today. Unfortunately, he's not feeling great, and so you got to deal with just yours truly flying solo. I'm a little bit stuffy, but we're going to press on and make it happen. So Kyan Evans, Henri Veesaar both had press conferences this week. I had about 15 minutes each with the media. Really, really great stuff. And honestly, biggest picture takeaway, man, I'm just impressed by both of these guys, right? They carry themselves well. They think well as humans, but as basketball players. They know the game well. They speak about it well. They have clear understandings of their teammates, what they do well, how they can interact with them. Man, I left both of those. I wasn't in person. I was watching them, but left watching both of those just more impressed than I already was with both of these guys. And those are the kind of things that when you're trying to pull teams together, man, having mature people who love the game and want to be part of it and want to be in Chapel Hill, man, that's great stuff. A couple things. Let's start with the Kyan Evans one. Couple things there. First off, he was asked for a self-scout, and I love what he said, and I want to quote it to you. I'm just a guy that you can't leave any space. No space. You want to try and keep me out of the paint too, because I'm going to get my teammates involved, but it's hard to do both, so good luck. Three things there. Number one, we already know what a great shooter he is, and that's very important. And it's also neat because Henri was asked about Kyan, and Henri just talked about when he sees guys going under, he extends more on pick and roll action to give Kyan even more. Like, I love how these guys are working together, but legitimately, he's like, you leave me space, I'm going to bust it, right? Like, you're done. But also, Kyan says, you got to keep me out of the lane because I'm going to get my teammates involved. And I love that it was that, not even necessarily because I'm going to get by you and get a layup or a floater or whatever. It's like, don't let me get in the lane and I'm going to get teammates involved. What's the implication? I'm going to draw attention from the defense and then kick out and ball game, lights out, because I got all these shooters around me. But I love then thirdly, he said, it's hard to do both, so good luck. And he didn't say it arrogantly or pompously. It was just matter of fact. Like, I love that he was just like, you can't guard both of these, so good luck. Like, legitimately, to a defender, I don't know what you're going to do. And I just loved how chill it was. It wasn't some big, like, oh, good luck to you. No, it was just like, I don't know what you're going to do because we're going to beat you. Interestingly, also, there's been a lot of speculation about point guard. Will it be Kyan Evans? Would he and Seth share it? Would Luka take some of that? And he was asked specifically about that. And basically he said, it's up to Hubert Davis. And we don't even really fully know yet. Essentially, and whether he was playing coy, because he did play coy later, kind of hilariously. But this didn't feel like he was playing coy. It was like, we actually don't really even know yet as we install stuff, who is going to be the guy that really leads out as the dominant guard. Now, ultimately, he said, I'm a point guard. I want to have the ball. And I still think it will be him. But it was interesting that it didn't feel defined yet in terms of what he's learning. He spoke on Henry. He spoke on Caleb Wilson. Really interesting stuff. Go listen to that. But the other thing, the last part I want to come to with Kyan Evans, and then we'll go to Henry, is he was asked, how do you leave your mark on a program like Carolina, where how many marks have been left on this program, right? And here was his quote: "You make marks on programs like this by winning big games. I'm just looking forward to winning big games and winning in big moments and making big plays for the team to win." Again, it's not arrogant. It wasn't bravado. It was just, this is what I want to do, man. I want to be here with the opportunity to play in some of the biggest games in the country every year. And I'm looking forward to that stage, right? That you want to hear that. You don't want guys that are shrinking away from the stage. Like, man, well, we'll see what happens. No, he's like, I'm excited for big moments. I want to be in big moments and make big plays in big moments. And I love that it wasn't about so that the nation learns Kyan Evans. It was making big plays for the team to win. That's the part you got to catch, is this dude is all about team and winning. And he will do whatever needs to be done, whether it's scoring, assisting, shooting, doesn't matter. Kyan Evans is going to do it. I love that. I am excited for him to be part of this team. And I think, quite frankly, he's being pretty slept on. Somebody who's not being slept on is Henri Veesaar. Had a lot of good stuff to say himself. I'm just really impressed, as an Estonian, how well he does with English. But several things there. And I think the place you got to start, and he also talked about this when he was on the podcast with Jones and Adam, which I think was earlier this week, if I remember, on like the official Carolina Insider podcast. They asked him about, hey, when you started realizing you were going to talk to North Carolina, did you talk to Caleb Love about it? Did you talk to Coach Steve Robinson about it? Because obviously those guys are there at Arizona, having both left North Carolina. And he said, yeah, they had a lot of influence with it. And I think there's been so much speculation amongst the Carolina fan base of, when you break up with somebody and you worry about how that other person talks about you to their new friends or their new boyfriend or girlfriend. I think a lot of people have been concerned about that with Caleb Love. Like, what does Caleb feel about North Carolina? Does he talk and speak well of the Tar Heels? And I think we got our answer to that, at least in part. And I don't think there's any reason to think Henry was doing anything but being forthcoming with this. He said, I asked Caleb what he thought about the program and his relationships with the coaches and how he thought Henry, would fit. And he said, quote, everything he said checked all the boxes for me. He said it was a great place to be and that they're definitely going to push me and you're going to get better by going there. And obviously he didn't say the specific words. That was just kind of a paraphrase of his conversations with Caleb. And I'm sure there has been frustration for Caleb, but it's just good to know that Caleb loves this place, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and that he still has a lot of love in his heart for his former team. And that's good. And I hope a lot of people hear that and realize that, right? Like, Caleb is a Tar Heel, man. And we got to remember that. So I love that crossover and everything that comes with it. Another thing that stood out to me was he was asked about Seth Trimble and what he thought about playing with Seth and working with Seth. And he just gushed, man. He said, I obviously knew Seth was a good player. I had seen him play other stuff, but when I knew I'd be coming here, I went and watched a bunch of his games. And he said, I feel like we will complement each other well. And there was two specific things that stood out to me, Isaac. Number one, it's a reminder of how different this year is going to be with a true stretch four in Caleb Wilson and Jarin Stevenson and Henri Veesaar as a stretch five. Because he said, I like that I will be able to pop, like get out of the lane or pop out and clear space in the lane for Seth to do what he does. And that's like, as I think more and more about the construction of this roster, so many of the pieces are complementary in that they fit, right? Like if the starting lineup is Kyan Evans, Seth Trimble, Luka, Bogavac, Caleb Wilson, Henri Veesaar, those other four dudes can clear out and all shoot. Seth can get into the lane and either finish, float, or kick out. And any of those are desirable results. So I love that Henri recognizes that and how they can play off one another. The other thing he said is that Seth is a great passer, and we've played really well in pick and roll together, whether it's the short roll or pocket passes or whatever, man. He recognizes it well and throws it. And so it's like, it's clear they have been working on that pick and roll connection. Obviously, he and Kyan are going to be working on that a lot. I would imagine we're going to see a lot of lobs to Henri and to Caleb as well. And so there's a lot of really good possibility there. And so I love hearing Henri voice that in what he's already seeing and what's possible. Caleb was asked about Caleb as well, about his connection with Kyan Evans. Some really good answers there. Our guy Nintendo had asked me to ask Pagnotta about the connection between Henri and Kyan. Obviously, Pags isn't here to do it. So, Connor, I apologize that I couldn't ask him about that, but we'll get to it at some point. The final thing I want to mention about Henri that stood out was he was asked about the possibility of how he, Caleb Wilson, and Jarin Stevenson would work together. Is that a combination we will see? And he said, oh, yes, we've done that. Like this jumbo lineup, my words, is something that I think we can expect to see based on what Henri was saying. And he said, what I like about it is there's no compromise on shooting because all those dudes can shoot. There's really good rim protection. And there's good mismatches in Carolina's favor. And those guys in Caleb and Jarin are athletic enough where they're not going to get blown by 3s and 4s. And it's kind of interchangeable positionally. And so I don't know if that'll be a starting lineup, but I think it is a lineup that we will certainly see, and Carolina will try to utilize to take advantage. And so I'm very excited to see all of that. He also spoke of how excited he is for the big man game between he and Caleb Wilson. And I love that because how often through the years have we seen Carolina bigs just play off each other and play so well? I think of Kennedy Meeks and Isaiah Hicks just carving up the Syracuse defense, for example, that kind of thing, man. And so we're just really excited to see all of that. So great interviews from both of those guys. Excited to hear more from them and the rest of the players on the team as well. Now let's transition to football because we got another game to get ready for. What steps is Carolina going to continue to take on Saturday against Richmond? I got 3 things in particular that I'm watching for. We'll get you caught up on that in just a second. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward moment. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward was Carolina's opening drive against Charlotte. You thought that opening drive against TCU was impressive? Nah. Charlotte game said, watch this, big boys. It was a 3-play drive, and I loved how quick strike it was. 2 very completable throws from Gio Lopez to running backs coming out of the backfield for, nice gains. And then the absolute, 51-yard bomb to Chris Culliver. It was great to see Gio's arm do that. It was great to see the touch on it just fall right into Culliver. Carolina's on the board, 3 plays in from the line of scrimmage. Great stuff. And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And so just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Let's get into our preparations more for the Richmond game tomorrow afternoon, 3:30 Eastern. One of the things that I think we quickly realized with the TCU game is that this team is going to have a lot to work on. They're starting from pretty low and got to take a big ascent. One of the things that was nice about the Charlotte game is that we saw a lot of steps forward, right? They were finding themselves better in multiple areas, including things like tackling, for example. They did it. And so what I'm realizing is that it's not about suddenly you've got it all figured out from Charlotte to Richmond or Richmond to UCF or whatever it is. It's about incremental improvement week to week in every facet of the game, from special teams, offense, defense, to the individual nuts and bolts within. And so what I want to do right now is give you 3 specific things that I'm watching for tomorrow to keep taking those steps forward. Number 1, offensive progression. I just talked about it in that last ad read with Mazda. Man, Carolina has started with a bang each of the first 2 games. They've had the ball first, and they've scored a touchdown on the first drive of the game. The TCU one was very impressive. The Charlotte one, even more so. But now It's about sustaining drives after that. It's about once that opening script is done, what are you doing? Where are the dynamic playmakers, whether it's Gio himself, who did a little bit more on last Saturday. It's about the running backs, it's about the receivers, it's about the line getting pushed. All of it matters. It's about tight ends blocking well and catching well when they're called upon to do that. And so it's not just about that first drive, but it's about the offensive progression game long. Yes, you're going to have drives that stall out and you got to punt. I get that. But Carolina needs to have success at a sustained and consistent level. And yes, I recognize Richmond as an FCS opponent is the lowest level team thus far. But that doesn't excuse you from the fact that you, as Carolina's offense, have to put together multiple and consistent drives throughout the game. As part of this, I think a couple things. Number one, you've got to establish more of a pass game. As we record, we've got no formal word yet on Chris Culliver. I'm not expecting him to play, even if he was 70%. It's Richmond. You don't play him. Even if he's a little bit better for UCF, I think you hold him out because then you got another week off and then Clemson comes to town, right? So unless he's just like miraculously fine, I don't think you play him tomorrow. But who emerges? Is it Alex Taylor? Is it Kobe Paysour? Is it, Green? All these options, a tight end. We haven't seen much from the tight ends at all. And as part of all that, Richmond has been really solid on defense. Coach Belichick talked about in his availability this week that Richmond hasn't been allowing explosive plays, right? And so Carolina might have to be patient and continue to dink and dunk and chip and chunk, whatever they got to do to get 6 and 7. And we'll see what happens there. Number two thing I want to see some more incremental movement on is the defensive line. I want to see them take steps where they're getting more push than we've seen so far. Now, again, that should be doable given the opponent. But to this point, Carolina has just 1 sack through 2 games. That was last week on Connor Harrell, funnily enough. Got to get more pressure on the opposing quarterback, and that's going to be very difficult this week. I'll talk more about it in the next segment. But, DeAndre Robinson, man, he looked great last week. I want to see him continue to be a dude, but want to see other guys emerge alongside him as well. Now, still no Price Yates this week. So, other guys are going to have to step up and make a difference. Who's going to do that? I want to see that incremental next step as things continue to move. Again, you feel like you've got some great stuff with your linebackers. You feel like you got some great stuff on the corner with Thad Dixon. You just got to keep moving forward. And then thirdly, thing I'm watching for more growth and more movement is even better tackling. There's no denying that it was just poor in game 1 against TCU. The total was 19 missed tackles. Last week, cut that down to 7 against Charlotte. Keep that number going down. Find your assignment, stay in your lanes, make tackles when they come to you, or go seek them out and do it, but don't abandon lane assignments and things like that you've got to take care of. Want to see Carolina's defense continue to build on what they did last week to take a step forward after the TCU game. Let's take another step forward. Again, I just want to bookend that again. It's not about you've suddenly got to have everything figured out on defense, offense, and special teams, but you got to take the next step in the progression. And then do it again next week down in Orlando at UCF. And then get more gains in that off week at practice so that you're ready to take more steps against Clemson. And then as you get further and further into ACC play, you should be reaching your potential as a first-year Bill Belichick team. That's what we're looking at. So each week, I'm imagining that I'm going to point out things. It's like, here's the step we need to take here, right? Like that's what we're looking for. All right. Now, next, coming up, I've got 3 questions for this game. I've got my prediction for you, and we'll have our weekend whip around, getting you ready for everything going on in Carolina athletics coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about Drip Drop. Y'all, when I'm on top of my hydration, I notice that everything works better. My energy, my mood, my focus, even my skin. But getting enough fluids is not always easy. And that's why I've been loving Drip Drop, which is a doctor-developed and scientifically proven fast hydration powder to pour into water. It uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of a leading sports drink. I got in on the zero sugar. I love it, man. It's so good. I always keep a few packets handy in my backpack. It saves me kind of throughout the day. I've been keeping them here in my podcasting space as well, because all I do all day, talk, right? And man, I've been having some throat troubles this week, just been feeling a little down and sick. Man, drip drop been saving me, getting me through. Got lemon lime today is what I'm crushing right now during the show. Let's taste it. So good. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head on over to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Again, that's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard. This episode is also brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. I kind of count it as the weekend, honestly. And it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For the Tar Heels, I thought it was that delivered in a really big way last Saturday at Charlotte. The fewest points allowed to an FBS opponent since 2001. When the pressure was on, the defense came through. No hesitation, no delay. And just like the defense delivered for the Tar Heels, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep that streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period runs through November 18th. 3 questions for tomorrow's game hosting Richmond. Number 1, how are the Tar Heels going to look with their first typical in-season game week? And here's what I mean by that. Obviously, the lead up to TCU was the regular offseason lead up for a game, right? Other than the fact that it was on a Monday night. That kind of throws you out of whack as well. So kind of atypical there. Following that, because of the Monday night game, you had a short week preparation for Charlotte. And so only now do you have just the regular college football rhythm of turnaround. Play a game Saturday night, and you don't play again till the next Saturday. And that's what we're looking at. Carolina having their first regular week. Will they have another explosive first drive? I sure hope so. But all the more so, I hope they follow that up more consistently. We talked about that in the last segment. I'm hoping that they've had more time to prepare for what they've got with Richmond. Coach Belichick, something I love is that he respects every opponent, regardless of FCS or Ohio State or Texas or whomever it is. He's going to respect the opponent. And so he's going to have his team ready for what Richmond is trying to do. And the Belichick deviousness of we're going to take away your biggest weapon, whom we'll talk about here more in a minute. So I'm watching for that. How will the Tar Heels look in their first typical game week? Question number 2, which running back are we going to see emerge? We talked about in the last segment, the offense needing to have consistency and do stuff. And then Geo continuing to take strides, the receivers continuing to do it. And I specifically didn't talk about the running backs there because I wanted to do it here. We've had different running backs emerge in different weeks. Part of that is typically Bill Belichick teams do that, but also nobody has said, I'm the dude, I'm the bell cow. So last week sure looked like it was Damon June. This week, it could be him, could be Caleb Hood, could be Bullet Goss. Who knows who it's going to be? Could be another mixture. It could be somebody takes it and owns it this week. It could be it's Richmond, so they're going to continue to roll everyone out and give everyone opportunities to put more stuff on tape so that the staff can evaluate it. Which running back will emerge? I wouldn't be shocked if it's still a revolving door. Number 3 question. How on earth is the defense going to follow up that 3-point allowed at Charlotte performance? Well, part of the problem with that is that Richmond's quarterback, Kyle Wickersham, is quite dangerous. Oh, by the way, thank you very much. We know that Carolina has often struggled with true dual threat quarterbacks, and that's what Mr. Wickersham is, albeit that was in a previous regime. This is a new era, but still, I think we all have the how's Carolina going to do against a dual threat quarterback kind of worries. This dude is 6'4", 260. So far, he's 34 for 49 through the air, 266 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. On the ground, he's the team's leading rusher, 31 carries for 124 yards and 2 TDs. Nobody else is really close to him. last year, he had a season-ending injury 3 games in, so whatever. His stats 2 years ago, 1,400 passing yards, 10 touchdowns through the air, 401 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns on the ground. I think he's going to surpass all of that this year. Richmond's best running back, or most used running back, I guess I would say, at least so far, is Aziz Foster Powell. 20 rushes for 74 yards, no touchdowns. So obviously, I mean, it's clear that Wickersham, he's the guy, right? Like nearly double what Foster Powell has done on the ground. And then the leading receiver so far is Javion Griffin, 8 receptions for 63 yards and no touchdowns. They haven't done exactly a ton through the air yet, but neither has Carolina. So we'll see what happens there. So we're watching for it. How can Carolina contain Kyle Wickersham? Will we get that classic Belichick, like, we've got a plan, we're stopping this dude, we're spying him, whatever it is, he's not going to beat us, somebody else is going to have to. We'll see what happens, but I'm watching for it. Can Carolina give up, single-digit points again like they did last week? Should be able to, but we'll see. All right, here's the details and game prediction. Carolina versus Richmond tomorrow at Keenan Stadium. A whole bunch of, the game day festivities are ready and rolling. It's going to be great. 3:30 Eastern, nice fall afternoon, hopefully. I haven't looked up the weather yet. Whatever, it should be great. ACC Network. Carolina leads the all-time series with Richmond 12-2. However, Richmond actually won the last time they played, albeit back in 1978 when I was -6 years old. FanDuel has the line for this game, Carolina minus 21.5. Now, here's the funny thing. In order to, the minimum to beat that would be winning 22-0, right? As Michael Coe pointed out on Twitter, our guy Michael Coe, Carolina is yet to score that many points in a single game this year. Yikes. So here's the thing for me. We need a convincing victory here. I think given what happened with TCU, given that it wasn't a dominant performance against Charlotte, which personally, yeah, it's a short week. It's a true road game. It's a team that's like, this is the biggest game ever coming to our field. I get that. So I wasn't really expecting it. This game is the type of game that sets up for Carolina where they should be able to exert their will. If not, all right, we might have some concerns in a major way with this season. I'm going to go 35-7 here. Carolina hasn't proven to be a dominant offense yet. I do think they take some steps forward even from last week, and so we'll give them a couple more touchdowns. I think just with the threat of Wickersham, they're able to do a little more than Charlotte did last week, but not a ton. Defense is dialed in, holding Richmond under 10 points. Let's go 35-7. That's my prediction. All right. Project 28 weekend whip around. Here we go. This one's already happened. Women's soccer played on Thursday at Virginia Tech up in Blacksburg. Carolina wins 2-1 with the game-winning goal coming with 3.5 minutes left in the match. Great stuff for the ladies. Way to go. Men's soccer tonight against Wake Forest at home, 7 p.m. on ACC Network Extra. Field hockey in action today against App State, 6 p.m. So just a little bit before the soccer match. That's on ACC Network. And then Sunday, the ladies will play Liberty at noon on ACC Network Extra. It's funny, just kind of some breathers for the field hockey ladies after just a brutal gauntlet so far. Obviously, they've gone 4-0 in that, but great stuff there. How about volleyball? Let's look back earlier this week. We didn't get a chance to talk about it on the show. Volleyball is now 5-0. They're ranked 25th, but almost certain to jump when the rankings refresh. Why? Because on Tuesday, they blanked the Florida Gators. Oh, by the way, the 11th ranked Florida Gators. You thought that football loss to South Florida was their worst loss of the week. Nah. The Carolina Tar Heel women's volleyball team is doing work out here. Carolina, first time sweeping a ranked opponent at home since 2016. Congrats to the ladies, off to their highest. That's the highest ranked victory of the Mike Shaw era. 5-0 start. Great stuff. Today, they play at South Carolina. That's going to be a tough ask. 6 p.m. on SEC Network Plus. So there's your weekend whip around. All sorts of great stuff. Let's have another undefeated weekend just like we did last weekend. Why not? Let's make it happen. All right, you guys, thanks for being with us. If you haven't subscribed to the show on video and audio, do that right now so you don't miss a second. If you're on YouTube, you can subscribe right down there in the corner. If you're listening, subscribe on your favorite audio platform as well. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to see you in there, man. It's a great place to be, great place to chat with Tar Heel fans. It's so good. If you want to go even deeper with the show, Locked On Tar Heels Insider Program, get direct access to me and free access to all of my stats and charts, data, all that great stuff. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow after the game for our live postcast. But until then, peace.